Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inspired by Chaos, where we are diving into the mess, the beauty, and the breakthroughs of the world of special education. I'm Sophie.
I'm Jordan.
And our episode today is talking about empowering independence and fostering that self-sufficiency in the classroom. We're going to start off with a zone check-in. It's been a little while. What zone are you in, Jordan?
I am in the green zone. I'm feeling good.
Good.
I'm trying not to huff and puff as I had to walk.
It's getting more difficult these days.
Yeah. But I'm feeling green. I'm excited to be doing this.
And the beautiful spring setup is well underway at the studio.
Yeah.
Sun
So
is
we've
shining.
incorporated that. I will tag who did these beautiful florals because they are so pretty and I'm so excited about
I know
them.
it looks gorgeous in here.
Yeah.
It looks lovely. Green zone.
Yeah, green zone. What about you?
I'm glad to hear it. I'm in the green zone. We're actually on March break right now. So that has been lovely. Obviously catching up on some things we need to catch up on and spending a little bit of time here doing some springy setup. So it's been good. I'm in the green zone. I'm feeling relaxed. I feel weird that it's already Thursday. Like I feel like it flew by. I knew it would fly by, but I feel like I need to not count down the days until we go back.
I know.
It went by very, very quickly. Before we kind of dive into the episode, we're going to do a little Would You Rather game. Of course, Jordan has no idea about the game or any of the things we're doing because I like to catch her off guard by those things. Okay. I'm going to give you like 4 questions and you can give me your answer and then I'll answer after.
Okay.
I feel like our answers are usually pretty similar, but we'll see. Alrighty. So this is Would You Rather Special Educator Edition. First one. Would you rather have a meeting run an hour over schedule or have surprise classroom observations every day for a week? So we're staying, and for us, that means an hour unpaid. So we're staying either an hour unpaid or every day for a week, someone just pops into your classroom randomly to watch what's going on.
Honestly, okay, this is going to be funny, I feel like. I think I'd rather unexpected guests.
I know we do love to chat. That's the issue. We actually do enjoy when people come in because we're like, look what we did.
Yeah.
Look how nice it is in here.
Yeah, I feel like we're so proud of like the things and like showing off our kids. Like we're so proud of like when people come in to assess situations. It's actually kind of funny to me because a lot of times we're like, oh, we're having some challenges in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has happened. This is a real life situation where they've come in, seen none of the challenges and closed the files.
Close the case. And we're like, oh, no, we still need help.
And I'm like, no, just because it was a good day doesn't mean we don't need your help. But I feel like I love meeting people. I love having people come in and brainstorm with us or just pick our brains about what we're doing.
And we can like, I kind of like that too, where we can like pick their brain, they can pick our brain. And it's also just important to connect with people like outside of your school because again, we are planning another like pretty big event this year and we need people. Yeah. We need people to connect us to other people because you are kind of isolated in your own school and within your almost like family of schools. So like getting in contact with other people outside, it's hard. Yeah. Especially in our position. We're not like going to meetings and going and doing trainings all the time. It's pretty like few and far between. Yeah. So I think we're on the same page with that. Yeah. Yeah. And then, we just like to, I think it's just because we're yappers, if I'm being honest. I don't think it has anything to do with anything else.
And I think even if the meetings were to go over, it's probably half because of us. So
it's because we're talking.
Yeah.
Right? So
can't really be mad at that.
At least these meetings are happening during paid time, I guess. So there we go. Okay. Would you rather have unlimited classroom supplies, but no printer access at all? Or unlimited copies, but always run out of dry erase markers?
I feel like we need a printer.
I agree.
I don't know. Like, and we do so much digital stuff too. So I think I definitely would rather have access to that printer.
But even like, just like we're constantly making new like reinforcement schedules and like things. But honestly, my answer for this was very easy because I flipping hate dry erase markers. No. I don't like dry erase markers. Like they really tick me off. I feel like they're messy. I just feel like there's got to be a better way. Like I can't handle them.
Go back to chalkboards.
When you're erasing things and your hands are turning black.
She did say she wanted to be back in that like granny.
Yes.
So you want chalkboards.
Yeah. Oh no. I have a really hard time. Chalkboards,
no.
Chalkboards are like my version of your cotton ball. Jordan has such an issue with cotton balls. And if we do crafts, she's like dry heaving in the corner. I'm like, okay, no cotton balls.
I hate it.
Chalkboards is like my thing. Even when they use the like sidewalk chalk in the spring, my teeth are like doing this the whole time. I can't handle it.
I'm very similar though with chalk on my fingers. It's the same kind of feeling.
Maybe that's why I like digital things so much, because I have such a sensory issue.
Yeah.
And for a lot of our kids, I'm like, how is that not bothering
No,
me?
I know.
That it's like all over their hands and all over the place. And Jordan has a big issue with our new yellow dry erase markers.
Oh my gosh.
They stain
they drive
everything.
Me
and the kids love them. They're like, oh my God, fun yellow. And I'm like,
I can't see what they're doing.
I can't see what's happening.
I'm like, maybe we'll try another color next time.
Yellow is unavailable.
Because I can't. They're like, check my work. I'm like, what?
What does that say?
What is that?
And then it stains for the next day. You erase it and it's like, oh, now your paper's yellow.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Would you rather have a student finally master a skill that you've been working on all year, or have a parent finally acknowledge all of your hard work?
Oh, gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's weird, eh?
I mean, I'm going to have to go with the skill.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, ultimately, that's the most rewarding, I think.
It's the most rewarding, and it's also our goal and our job.
Yeah.
Like, our job isn't to beg for parent appreciation.
Approval or appreciation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we know we have very appreciative and wonderful families. Like, this isn't an issue that we deal with.
No.
But I'd much rather have that celebration moment with the kid than, and still be able to like relay that to the family.
Yeah.
Even if they're not as excited as we are about it. But
no, for sure. But I have to say, it does feel good. Like, and obviously it's not like parents are coming every day being like, we love you guys. But when things get rough, we have had so much validation from the parents of like,
it's really nice.
Yeah. And it does feel good. I will not lie. It feels good to know that they know. I think it feels good to know that they know how loved and supported their child is at school. And I brought this up to Sophie before because my son has challenges in school. And my biggest fear, I think, as a parent, and I'm sure people relate, my biggest fear as a parent is that because he has challenges, that his educators will get frustrated with him or just not love him the way that I do, you know? So I think it just feels really good when parents see how much we love and care for their kids.
Yeah. Right? And we really do. We're always on the same page with that. And that's why we get so excited when they master those skills and stuff. I feel like we just are so invested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, both are equally rewarding. I think just mastering the skill for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Would you rather work in a school with unlimited funding, but a negative work culture, or a school with limited resources, but an amazing team?
Probably the limited resources. And I feel
Isn't that what all schools are now? Limited resources.
I think so. I mean, half the time we create our own resources anyways. So like it's so hard to work. Also, Sophie and I think are probably on the same page as far as like, we are both such, because we're yappers and like just love community and everyone being happy and loving and
together
loving
and
what they're doing. And we do all our socials and whatever. And like, we love that. And we love when people are just having fun and stuff. So like working when people are not in that space.
That's a hard thing to do.
It's hard.
It is hard.
So,
and I just feel like the energy that you bring into work and the energy that you surround yourself with is so important.
Yeah.
It like really determines like the trajectory of your day.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I feel like regardless of like the amount of money or resources that a school has, I think it's way more important how amazing the team is, because that also reflects how you treat and teach those kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think. Well, that's all I had for you. That was really good answers for me just springing it on you.
Thanks, girl.
Okay, so our episode today is empowering independence and fostering self-sufficiency in special education. So really the goal of our program that we work in is a practical learning program. So we really do focus on building independence for these kids and really just making them like contributing members of society as adults. And having them at the younger elementary age, I mean, they're not super young, they're like junior intermediate, but I feel like it's such a good time to start these skills and hope that they're continued into high school and into their adulthood, because this is like a very important time. I don't know. One of the other things that we have talked about considering about why independence is important is like, what do these kids' futures look like? What do we think that they're going to be capable of? And we're thinking highest, most independent, best case scenario. And that's kind of like our goal to get them to that point. They're like possibly holding a job. What is their living situation going to look like? What is their current like caregiver situation look like? And is that going to be something that's going to be able to be like a long-term kind of thing?
Yeah.
And we had talked to, we can bring it up now, a little bit about pivoting our program to make it more conducive to like their independence or whatever. Yeah. You want to talk about cooking a little bit?
Yeah.
And what we did for that?
A part of our program is cooking. We do it once a week. We've done it once a week since the beginning. You guys, I don't know if you did it.
We did. Yeah. We started it very early. So it's been like 4 years.
And love cooking. It's one of my favorite parts of the program because I think it's so important and for them to learn these skills and have these skills. Also, I think for a bunch of them, it's they're like therapeutic. Like, I mean, it is for me. So but something they look forward to. One thing we did do is the last few years we've cooked whatever. Like we've kind of what is it? Accessible Chef. We've used Accessible Chef.
If you haven't used Accessible Chef, it's a great tool.
Great.
It's like a visual recipe creator. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And we've we've used that for a few recipes. Sometimes we've just found things or we've taken ideas from their favorite foods to try and put together these meals. A lot of the time though, we were doing things that required a lot of steps. And it was great because maybe it required a lot of chopping and so they'd have to cut a bunch of vegetables and they'd have to like really like cook the meat, season the meat, like all of these things, which was great. And they are skills that are great for them to learn. However, I found, and I think Sophie found too, when we were doing little things like opening cans or even opening like cheese packs or like those individual cheese slices.
It's still like motor work. It's still fine motor work.
Yeah.
Even if they're not at that like chopping phase yet.
So, and so then when we kind of looked at this year, we really wanted to tackle that independence. So we really wanted to see what we could get them to do completely independent. Like from start to finish, how can we get this to be something they can do? And we've, so our menu planning this year looked a little bit different. We still, every once in a while, are doing something that's a little more out there. But for the most part, it's very simple, like opening, simple. I say simple, but it's not. And I think that was the whole point. Yeah. So opening a can of soup, pouring it in a bowl, putting it in the microwave. Even our, I always do this. What is it? Low
support
needs students.
The language is always changing.
I know. And I still struggle with that, figuring out which way it goes. Our low support needs students, even them, they are struggling with doing that completely independent. So for our high support needs students, we have a long way to go for that process. But I think, so for us, we were like, how can we do these things? So it was like things like that, cans of soup. It was sandwiches. But when I say sandwiches, it was making sure every part of that sandwich required no prep. So already chopped lettuce, or
we're buying shredded cheese now, whereas maybe in the past we had them grate the cheese. But if they're going to be, independent adults, and that takes one step away for them, maybe they're going to buy the shredded cheese as an adult. Maybe they're going to buy the pre-cut lettuce, whatever. So it was just giving them the skills to be like, hey, you can do this independently and easily.
Yeah. So, and we still, even building a sandwich, there's so many questions that are coming along with it. And that just kind of verified for us, I think, that like this was the right route for cooking for them.
I agree.
And we've done, like, now we did subs twice. And the second time they were more independent. So I think that's kind of the way we were pushing. And we've also talked about like having a time where the kids can like it's like cook your own, not even a cooking day, but like
a make your own lunch kind of thing,
talk to parents and say, listen, don't send lunches on this day.
Yeah.
And like have a cupboard that's available that they can choose what they want to eat.
Like even Mr. Noodles, right?
Yeah.
Like Mr. Noodles, soup, sandwich stuff. We've done even grilled cheese, or what was the other one? Microwave quesadillas.
Yeah.
Like it was literally like tortilla, cheese, fold it, microwave it, cut it up.
Yeah.
Like
so
I feel like that would be a good option
too. And so we thought like maybe that would be a good thing. And not maybe we don't do that for every student.
Yeah.
But again, a few of our students probably are very capable of doing something like that. So we just thought like the decision making of what do I want to eat?
Yeah.
What do I need to make this meal? And we would have all of the things available for the selections that we're giving them. But yeah, and I know even our teacher, we're starting to go on walks and stuff.
Yeah.
So that we can walk to the grocery store. Usually we do like an order for groceries, but we want to give them the opportunity to like pick out the items that they need for the things we're cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's supposed to come into play soon, which will be nice.
Yeah, for sure. And even as they get older, like even the like public transit piece, like teaching them like, this is what I need, this is where I need to go to get it, and this is how I can go about doing that safely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think we should definitely touch on is that because independence is such a huge part of our programming, it's really important to note how important patience is in that, because it takes a lot of patience to be able to step back and let them figure things out on their own with our support.
Yeah.
To know that we're just here if they need it, but not to just like jump in and complete the task for them, because what the heck are they learning if we're constantly doing things for them? And yes, like it's not easy sometimes to have to be quiet and watch them struggle with the zipper a few times and then functionally ask for help. And then maybe we do it a little bit, like, but it's so worth it in the end to know that eventually someday they're going to be able to do that on their own.
Yeah.
I guess we could talk a little bit about what like we define independence as. And I think like it's important to note that like independence can happen in certain areas and not other areas. Like there's like academic independence, social independence, emotional independence, and then subcategories in there too. But it really is like the ability of them to function with like little to no support in any specific area. So like we have some students who are independent maybe in the washroom, but recess is not something they can do independently because of how socially complex it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they can function independently, like alone.
Yeah.
But once you like throw other people in the mix, maybe it becomes less independent for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And we even have kids who like will go and do a job elsewhere in the school with none of our contact. Like we don't have to follow them around, do anything. They go, they do deliveries, they do whatever. But then in the classroom where it requires like an immense amount of focus, they are not able to regulate independently.
No, for sure.
That's also a big one. Independently regulating.
I know. And yes, that's a huge one. And I think we talk about that too sometimes.
It comes up all the time because it's so important and it touches every aspect of.
I know. Because I think I think it comes up so often for us because we are so aware that when our kids are not regulated, they don't have the tools to regulate.
No.
And it's up to us.
I don't know.
It's up to us to teach them those skills.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we're there for. We're not there to just sit and make sure they're able to Velcro whatever in the right place. Like, there are so many aspects to allow them to be independent that it's why we're there. And so when these things come up and a child is unregulated, I know we've probably briefly touched on it before.
Yeah.
But teaching them those skills of like breathing and how to bring themselves back and taking space and what to do when you're taking space that will help you.
Yeah.
Like they don't know these things.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to teach them ways, and not all the ways, obviously, but like give them what a treasure chest of like different things. That's not the phrase. That's not the thing of whatever. of things that they can use to try when this is a serious moment right now.
Yes. Sorry.
Of different tools. Toolbox.
I said toolkit. I was close.
Oh, I didn't even hear that. I thought you said trinket.
A trinket.
A toolbox.
I said toolkit and you had no reaction. I was like, I guess that's not it. I don't know.
And I'm like, that's not
wrong. Trinket, wrong.
Okay. She was right. A toolbox.
I was right. Roll it back.
A toolbox of different tools that they can use to help regulate themselves. Yeah. It's our job to do that.
Yeah.
Because not everything we suggest is going to work.
I just can't. Like, sometimes I just like, I've just seen it so many times where it's like, calm your body. And
how?
It's like, how? Tell me, teach me how to calm.
Yeah.
Like, or you do zipper. And it's like, if they don't know how to do the zipper,
they're not going to
do the zipper.
No, for sure.
And that's why we were talking about like the scaffolding piece earlier. Like you come from CYW background and I'm from ECE background. And they both touch on like this child theorist, his name's Lev Vygotsky, and he talks about scaffolding, which is basically like what a child can do independently versus what they can do with your support.
Yeah.
And gradually pulling that support away until they have the confidence to feel they can do it independently. Mm-hmm. So like if they don't know how to do it, they don't know how to do it. Like, I don't know how to like, you have to like,
I know.
Teach a skill.
I know.
And independence is never going to be something that's like generalized over every aspect of their life. Like, oh, they're independent. Independent how? Independent in doing their work, independent in the bathroom, independent in regulating themselves. Like there are going to be areas where they are more and less independent.
Absolutely.
And even when you come to, let's say, self-regulation, they might be independent and self-regulating in the classroom and not independent and self-regulating on the yard.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different overstimulating environment.
Yep.
So independence is such a tricky thing.
Yeah.
And it's like a blanket that goes over everything that we do.
Yeah.
But being in our program, it's important. And we teach it, I want to say, every transition.
Yeah.
Every single thing we do. Check your schedule. Can they do that independently? Mm-hmm. Sit in chair. Can they do that independently? Like you are constantly checking to see, can they do it with support or with me? Like, or by themselves or whatever.
And that skill is not independent until it's like mastered, until they need.
And generalized across like many different scenarios.
Yes. And like Sophie was saying, they can master independence in one area and not another. And even when you were saying like the do your zipper, mm-hmm. like there's also the skill of like there's different pieces to independent. And I believe that like them communicating and asking for help is also a piece of being independent.
I was just going to go there.
Right? Because I think like a lot of times, like, and don't get me wrong, I will definitely tell students to try that. Like try your zipper.
Because maybe it's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can't, but I'm too scared to do it.
Yeah. And so like, I think we all do that. I think I do it at home with my kids too. Like, you know, try first. And if you still can't get it, I'll help you. And then maybe I'm helping to an extent and showing and watch what I'm doing or zipping up just a little bit. And then they have to carry the rest of the way or little things like that. But then also allowing them to functionally ask like, I need help.
Yes.
You know, and showing. It's funny with one of our students who's hard of hearing. It's even he was saying something about help and he knows some sign. So, and I kept saying, like, I kept telling him, like, show me help because you need to learn to functionally ask for help when you need it. Right. Yeah. And so it's funny because I was so excited because I think it was that week. It was the same thing he was asking for help with. And it was one of his independent tasks. Mm-hmm. And then he started signing like help. And I'm like, oh, so good.
See?
we cannot,
we can't teach or assist what we don't know needs support.
Yeah.
Like if we don't know how to help or what we're helping with, we can't help.
Yeah.
So it really starts at that functional communication. Yeah. It doesn't matter what kind of communication it is. It could be verbal. It could be, you know, their AAC device. And it also could come out in behavior.
Yep.
Kids communicate and adults communicate through behavior all the time.
Yeah.
If we're seeing every day when we go to put our shoes on, we're laying on the floor kicking and screaming, okay, we are communicating something. So let's go back. Let's learn how to functionally communicate. Oh, is it your shoes? Like you need help with your shoes. Okay, let's try and communicate that we need help. Okay, let me help you and slowly like scaffold that support away.
Can I just give an example of something? Which I think...
The hand up is killing me. You are a host on the show. I have something to say.
I just think it's so funny that like sometimes we are so tough on the kids we work with about things like this, about communicating. Here's an example of a real life situation. It happened to me like 2 days ago. And I'm a grown mother of almost 4. And I was trying to put my shoes on. I was trying to put my shoes on. And I was having some trouble. My feet are very swollen. And I was having some trouble. And instead of using my words, I just sat on the stairs and cried.
See, she's communicating through behavior.
Yes. But it's just so funny because if a student, for some, not for us necessarily, but for some, if a student was crying and not asking or using their words, we would get upset. Why are you crying? Why are you like, and it would be this, whatever. But me, I literally sat there and cried. And I could have just said to my husband, hey, I need help.
Help me.
I'm having trouble. But instead I just sat there and cried. Because I was just frustrated.
And that's what frustration can do to you. And also like a lack of confidence in going into something too, right? Like probably next time you go to put on your shoes, you're going to think about it like, oh, shoot.
That's why I put my Crocs on.
So I don't have to help you today. We could have modeled it and really practiced asking for help. Here, we will role play this for you.
Oh,
one of the other things is we talked a little bit about generalizing a skill. Like one of the things for zippers and buttons and things like that, like we ordered these dexterity boards and they're really good practice for like, and the reason we keep bringing up the zipper and those kinds of things is because if you work in an early year setting or like a special education setting, like those are big time things that we still have kids that are working on tying their shoes, working on doing things like that. And I feel like those little moments, if you have 30 students that all can't do their zipper, it takes up a lot of time out of your day. So you're constantly like, here, let me just all zip them up or whatever. But if you were to incorporate dexterity boards and things for them to practice it during learning time, it actually might save you time in the long run instead of having a 45-minute recess transition where you're zipping up 30 coats. So we talk about this all the time that you can actually, things may seem like a waste of time in the moment, but it'll actually buy you time in the long run.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And also just reinforcing independence, positive reinforcement, of course, because half the time it is a confidence battle as well, right?
Yep.
We have kids that are just like timid to try. So really over celebrating those moments where maybe they don't get it, but they just try.
I'm trying to like remember, there was a time before the March break where I feel like me, you, and Justin were all like screaming because someone did something.
Shoot,
and I don't remember what it is, but I feel like we were all like, oh my, like it was like
jumping
this
up and down,
thing.
Woo!
And even like
it'll come to us.
We like with our because there's a portion of our day where it's like independent work, so all the kids have their bins and they do their independent work. And usually on the Monday, it's new. All the tasks are new. All the files are like it's all brand new to them. Yeah. And yes, it's stuff they're capable of doing independently, but it's still a new folder or a new task.
Which for sure produces some anxiety for them. They know every Monday they're getting a new chunk of stuff that they've got to relearn or like whatever.
Yeah. And so when they get it, usually I want to say by like Wednesday, they usually get whatever it is that we've had to work with them for the first few days. And we have them try it independently. Then we usually on that first day will sit down and be like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
So that hopefully on the Tuesday they could try and get a little closer to doing it independently, but usually we have to correct a few things. And then usually by like the Wednesday, Thursday, they have it. And the way we get excited when we look at the folder that they've struggled with for the week.
Yeah.
And they've been able to do it independently, like all of us. Like I don't think like it's not like every single time we all stop and scream.
Yeah.
But there was a specific time where we
I
did
know.
that.
I'm trying to think.
But usually whoever's checking that person's folder is so over the top about like, you didn't have to fix anything. Like, aren't you so proud of yourself?
Yes.
Look at like just to show them for the next Monday when something comes up that's challenging and when a new folder is in there, you are capable of doing this.
Yeah.
You know,
and making sure the other educators know too. Because again, like Jordan said, we're not going to stop every single time and be like, everybody pause and whatever, but making sure like, hey, did you see so-and-so did that by themselves? And then finding a time during the day to be like, I heard you did that by yourself. That's so good. Because it also makes them understand that we're so proud of them. They should be proud of themselves. And we're talking about that.
Yeah.
And we're like really
Sharing
hyping them up and on their side to do those kinds of things. So positive reinforcement is your best friend when it comes to reinforcing behaviors. You want like independence.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, we're going to touch on 3 common barriers to fostering that independence. So the first one we're going to go over is overprotection or over accommodation. And we did touch on this earlier with that like patience piece. Again, I'm going to bring up like the zipper example again. Yes, it is easier to just zip the zipper, especially when you're heading out to lunch or to prep or to whatever. But like we need to consider every moment as a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And if you're rushing through all of these teachable moments, you're missing out on so much core time that you could be nailing down this independence.
Yeah.
So just zipping the zipper for them, or even just like, let's say you're working towards something and you're slowly, gradually moving it out. Like the thing where you like zip it up a little bit for them and whatever, right? If then you get frustrated one day and just zip it up, they're going to think, all right, well, I guess I don't really have to try anymore if you're just going to do it for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's like a fine line just with like checking yourself for that patience and making sure you're not over accommodating for them. Just like mindful of the teachable moments.
Yeah.
Next, behavioral challenges. Behavior, like we talked about, is such a huge form of communication.
Absolutely.
But how behavior issues can affect a student's ability to demonstrate the independence, even if we know they have it.
Right.
Like I'm thinking of a student right now that can be, when regulated, incredibly independent.
Right.
But when unregulated, needs a ton of support.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, like the second point. So overprotection and overaccommodation and behavioral challenges.
Yeah. And I think though with the behavioral challenges, like especially in a situation like that, it is why we are so heavily like, and I know I think you reposted a clip on this or something the other day.
Yeah.
But allowing breaks before, because I feel like if you're going to try and get them to be independent in that moment, everyone's going to be frustrated. Yeah. It's just not going to work for anybody. So,
regulate first always.
Yeah. So allowing that time to get them back to their,
I agree.
baseline and come back and then do whatever you're working on independently.
Yeah. And we also do have some students that may really, maybe not love, but frequently engage in power struggles or defiant behavior. And when you're in a power struggle, there really is no winning for either one of you. No. So just utilizing the same thing and talking about, having those 2 positive choices. Even when you're working on independence, like you can still use that like forced choice where it's like, do you want to do your zipper by yourself today? Or would you like me to zip the bottom? Yeah. Like that gives them the option. You're not doing it for them. And that's very clear. And we're still working towards the goal, but there are your 2 options. Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes they'll go, I can do it myself. And then they zip it up and then you go, oh my God.
Perfect. And then you praise.
So proud of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's an option as well. That also kind of ties in with that over accommodation piece. And the last one is parental involvement. We've talked so heavily and so frequently about how important it is to have parental involvement. But if they're focusing, and we were discussing this before, on something specific at home and they have a certain way of doing that and that aligns with our program, why the heck wouldn't we make it easier for the student and just make that consistent?
Everyone on the same page. Right? Yeah. And something we like, first of all, I am, other than my cry fest about my shoes, I am such a big communicator. Like I will always, always, always advocate for trying to communicate with the family to figure out, are they seeing these things at home? Yeah. Do they foster independence at home for this? Is it something that they choose? Maybe it's something that at home they're like, it's just not a battle we have chosen to do. So we do that at home, which is great because then we can also say, okay, well, we are working on it in the classroom because maybe it isn't something that we can, like doing a bunch of zippers every day or tying shoes every day. Like it may not be time-wise and because our students aren't one-to-one, something that we can do every day. So it would be better for us to hopefully teach that or help that. And then sometimes we have had parents say like, well, if you guys are working on it, like we will too.
Exactly. Or looking for strategies, being like, have you seen anything that works? Because we're not seeing it work at home. And we're like, actually, we've seen these few things work here. Let's work as a team.
Yeah.
It is a big team approach. Like it always is.
And we always say that when we're talking to parents, like I think that's one of our big things is that like we are trying to be a team. We want to be a team. And like ultimately the kids we work with require us to be a team.
Yeah.
As much as we can, we need to all be on the same page so that they're seeing consistency at school and at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If they're getting a different response from parents as they do from us at school for doing the same behavior, how confusing is that? And unfair to them, really. So that open communication really just allows us to like, honestly, they'll reach independence faster.
No, for sure.
If they're receiving the same outcome in both areas, and then you generalize that skill, and then independence happens.
Yeah. And we do understand that sometimes communicating can be uncomfortable.
It's hard. Yeah.
Especially if you're communicating a tough topic, right? So we do understand that. But again, like just
always sandwich. They still use that term in school now. They used it when I was in school 10 years ago. They use it now. It's like start off with something. Hey, so-and-so's had a really, really great day today. We did have a little bit of an issue when we were heading outside. Have you noticed this? Blah, blah, blah. Have you dealt with it? But they were able to regulate themselves when they came back in. Then it just, as a parent on the other end of the line who's like, oh my God, what happened? Yeah. They are like, okay, well, I can take 2 positives out of that. Yeah. And still address that behavior with more of a clear mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the consistency for that, for them to be independent is so important if everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. So our 3 barriers are overprotection or over-accommodation, which is just having that patience to make sure you're not jumping the gun and doing things for them. Behavioral challenges, we want to really positively reinforce them. And being on the same page as parents, even though it can be awkward and uncomfortable at times, use each other as a resource because you both know the child best in your respective areas. And all right, we have a listener question and a listener kind of like comment we had a conversation about, and it's all about this fostering independence. So our question for today is, can you share an example of a small change that made a big impact on a student's ability to work independently? Short answer, yes. I feel like there's a lot of examples that we can pull from, but recently we were talking about, checking in with independence at all your transitions, and this one has to do with schedule checking. Yeah. Currently, we have most students on the same schedule right now, just like a strict schedule that they follow that's reset AM and PM. And we had a few students in particular that just weren't accessing the schedule. When we would go to reset it, it was still completely full, which is not only slightly annoying because we have to reset it. Yeah. It's obviously they're not independently following and knowing where they need to go.
Right.
Which ties in with our independence piece. So we did 2 different things because we're always individualizing for each student. It's not like a slap a Band-Aid solution on anything. One of them, we completely moved to a first then. Yeah. If you don't know what a first then is, it's literally just first work, then potty, first work, then trampoline. It's work, then preferred. And then the other one, we just change the location of the schedule. Yeah. And sometimes it's that simple. It doesn't need to be a complete upheaval of anything. But once in a while, you'll get a student who, takes the cue from everybody, time to stand up and check the schedule. Yeah. However, they are now in the bathroom or in the hallway or something.
Yeah. And I think that was the main issue with the one student is that he would take the cue and he would get up, but then he wouldn't check the schedule.
Yeah. It was I know I should be doing that, but this looks much more interesting. Yeah. And then you would just be like, oh, well, the schedule's never checked. It wasn't an issue with taking off and putting away. No. It was just couldn't make
Distracted.
It there. Yeah. Too many distractions in the way. Yeah. So we ended up just moving it actually over to the child's desk so that there was no stand-up transition. Yeah. It was just simply, look,
this is what's next.
This is done. And that has actually made a difference. Yeah. I have found. And also the first then is just a much better way to chunk that section or whatever. Yeah. And that way they can kind of move more independently through their, what's next on their schedule, I guess.
I think for the first then, especially the student, that specific student, I don't think was just at the level of, first of all,
it was overwhelming.
Yeah. First of all, we were giving breaks regularly. So he was working and getting a break. Getting a break. So the first then made more sense instead of having a big long strip. It was overwhelming for that student.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think he was following. I don't think he understood to follow it. Whereas now with the first then, he can see exactly what he has to do, and then he can see exactly what he gets after he finishes it.
Yeah.
and it just makes more sense.
Yeah.
So
actually, Jordan and I made something that'll be up on our Teachers Pay Teachers soon. Once I don't want to get into that. They're not answering my emails right now. We're having technical difficulties. But we were kind of having this thing with students where it was like they weren't at a first N, but they weren't at a strip schedule either. So then we kind of created this template where it was like almost like stacked first thens, so that the student could see what was coming next, but they always could see that they had a break in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. And we've had it work with 2 students now. So you just have to wait and see, I guess. But
to be honest, we did use them for the other PLP class. We had put it in place for a couple students.
Yeah. Like we were like, this is something that has created more independence in our student, especially if you're using a timer.
Yeah.
Because they know that, you know, when they move between these 2 things and that timer is done, they know exactly where they're going next. But they're still getting that first then component.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I found that super, super interesting.
Yeah. And I think the whole class, now they are using it for everybody in the class.
Yeah.
So
and honestly,
it really was a good one.
Maybe what I'll do is once our Teachers Pay Teachers is up, we'll share that specific one on our stories or something, and we'll clip it with this. I'll put a little picture of it down here somewhere. Right in this area over here. We do also have a listener comment, so I'm going to read it and then we can just kind of bounce off of it.
It was a little bit of a conversation. Well, a little bit. I was minimal because I figured we'd talk about it in here.
Exactly. Yes. So one of our listeners said, I think your positioning is very influential on a child's prompt dependence. If you set up an environment where they know you're there to help, but not always physically in sight, they tend to attempt tasks more independently, or at least that's the goal. Also, I think positioning yourself behind the student during class lessons makes you more aware of how much unconscious prompting you do.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really agree with that. Yeah. You don't really consider positioning.
Yeah.
And also if a child knows constantly that you're going to jump in, they become super dependent on your corrections. That's very, very interesting. They also said greater reinforcement schedule for independent completion of tasks versus prompted. So for example, you receive 1 goldfish for like completing a task prompted, but you would get 100 goldfish, a dance party, and endless tickles for doing it independently. Which is what we had talked about. Like just really, really over celebrating those big things.
But still celebrating it prompted. Like they're still completing the task.
Exactly. So they're still getting some kind of reward because it's like, congrats, you did it. But then when they do it independently, you're like
over the top
always. And the last thing they said was dependent on skill level, teaching kiddos to seek help from peers if they can't complete the task themselves or they have questions. It shows independence to find a solution before seeking help from an adult. This can be beginning steps to building a buddy system where going forward they rely less on EA support, such as walking in a line through the halls or playing at recess. And then they added that they love this topic. If you can't tell, we're very passionate about this topic as well.
I think that's cute though too, because the ending of that, we have a student and maybe not the most independent because we really were working on the zippers.
Yes.
But found out that he was using one of his peers.
Yes. I forgot about that. And we were really like, yay, zipper. And then one day we were in the gross motor room across the hall and I'm like, is that kid doing up his zipper?
And the student said, we said to the other student, like, you need to be outside for recess. And she was like, well, I have to do up so-and-so zipper. And I'm like,
and we were like, oh, but then we were like, wait, they functionally asked someone to do their zipper. So there's always like a little win in the situation. But it was just so interesting because we were like, oh, shoot, we really thought you were doing it independently, but they did complete the first step of learning how to functionally communicate. So really, I'll take it.
And I will say that student is now doing their zipper independently. So
that like reminds me, there's this one TikToker that I love. She's a special education teacher. And she, another teacher reported to her that one of her students swore or something. And she was like, oh, that's great. They use their words to protest and say no. That's incredible. And it's funny how our brains just shift and pivot to like always find that positive thing in the situation. Oh my gosh. I really love this episode, guys. I feel like this has been a really eye-opening one for us even too. Because sometimes you really do have to check yourself and be like, darn, especially the week before the March break, I could be a little bit more patient and focus on those transitions and teachable moments a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this has been lovely. I love being back in the studio in the beautiful setup. And I'm excited to do more recording in here now that it's all set up and beautiful.
I know.
Where can we find you on social media, Jordan?
Okay, Jordan, Fine Photography, Inspired by Studios, or Inspired by Chaos Pod.
Yes. And you can find me also on Inspired by Chaos Pod, also on Inclusive Inspirations is my special education account. Thank you so much for listening. And again, if you have any comments, questions, anything, there is a link in our bio that you can go to that not only takes you to our beautiful merch, it also takes you to a spreadsheet where you can fill out questions and then we'll use them for future episodes upcoming.
And share us with people that you think may be able to relate.
Yeah.
Parents, other educators.
Yeah. This is where we need like you guys, because as much as we try our best to promote, we are busy ladies. We're in the classroom Monday to Friday. Jordan's got the studio. I'm in school. So we do our best to do everything solo, but our call to action would be share and let people know if you think that they would love it. So I'm Sophie.
I'm Jordan.
And thank you so much for watching.